We're going to start with Anne. Anne Johnston has been a long-time crusader for recycling. In 2000, she co-founded the BC arm of the Zero Waste Movement, a meme that is spread worldwide. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. It's a great crowd, I must say. I'm very impressed. Slightly intimidated, but impressed. I'm often asked how I came to be an organic gardener. And I usually reply that it started when I was 6 years old. I used to spend my summers at my grandmother's in Belleville, Ontario. She had a potato patch just outside her back door. And first thing every morning, we would go out to pick the potato bugs off the potato plants. They were about the size of my thumbnail, orange and black stripes, as I remember. We'd drop them on the ground and stamp on them. A most satisfying activity for a 6-year-old. And my introduction to organic pest control. I'm not so certain about my introduction to the zero waste concept. It was probably back in the early 40s during the Second World War. I think we were all zero wasters in those days. Our consumption was greatly reduced by rationing and the fact that many goods were not available at all. We saved and we reused whatever we had. As a child, if you were lucky enough to get a 50-cent allowance, 25 cents went to a war saving certificate. Even the munitions industry, while making their millions, were only too glad to receive every bit of scrap metal that they could. And if you're a recycler, you'll know that there are times when scrap metal is not the easiest thing to get rid of these days. It perhaps was this learned frugality which led me to make the ridiculous decision to take an early retirement after only 23 years credit towards a full pension, and to move to a property with a large organic garden on Main Island. One of my first important projects on Maine was to start a recycling society in 1985. And in 1990, we started the Southern Gulf Islands Recycling Coalition. During the 90s and early 2000s, visitors from Vancouver and other places were always astonished by the many materials that our depots received and marketed, a far greater range of material than those accepted here in Vancouver. In 1997, I was invited by the Minister of Environment, as was Ken, to sit on the Beverage Container Management Board. I was representing West Coast environmental law. During the next few months, we drafted the Beverage Container Recycling Regulation, which later morphed into the Recycling Regulation, meant to cover a wider range of products that come under EPR, or product stewardship. EPR. I can remember the battles with the powers that be, mainly industrial groups in Ontario or Alberta, about what those three letters stood for. Was it extended producer responsibility or extended product responsibility? A very different kettle of fish. That was around in the recycling wars that the good guys won. And extended producer responsibility for the management of their waste products in an environmentally responsible manner has remained the keystone to the provincial government's zero waste strategy, making BC a world leader in this area. In the year 2000, the Canadian Council of Ministers of the Environment gave up on the target that had been set a few years earlier to achieve a 50% reduction in Canadian waste. A group of us, all RCBC, Recycling Council, Recycling Council of British Columbia directors, were so distressed by this announcement that after a board meeting one day, we went out to lunch to decide what we could do about it. Well, we decided 50% wasn't high enough anyway. Why not 100% reduction? Yes. And so, Zero Waste BC was born. And we actually thought at the time that we had invented the term zero waste, which turned out not to be true. Zero Waste BC had its inaugural gathering at the Heritage Hall on Main Street in October of the year 2000. We had Warren Snow of Zero Waste New Zealand as our inspirational speaker. Joan Seswicki, the Minister of Environment, attended, as did Murray Cole, then environmental critic for the Liberals. We were off to a great start. Since then, Zero Waste has had its successes and its setbacks, nowhere more than here in Vancouver. I congratulate Helen Spiegelman and her Vancouver colleagues for all their mighty efforts over the past few years, especially in opposing incineration as a solution to our waste production problems. My personal battles have been largely played out on the Solid Waste Advisory Committee of the Capital Regional District. The co-option of the term zero waste to include incineration has angered and appalled me. When it was proposed a year or two ago that the CRD solve its composting problems by burning organic waste, I became apoplectic. These arguments are still going on in Victoria. Finally, I've been asked if there are lessons from my experience that apply today, and the answer is yes. We should lower our material expectations and consume less. If we don't, there will be very little left for our descendants to enjoy. We should reject all throwaway items, including clothes, and perhaps throw away less of our time before TV sets and our computers. And instead, we should take every opportunity to enjoy the nature around us that is under such serious threat. But most of all, we should dream big dreams, looking for 100% solutions, and then get busy finding ways to make those dreams come true. And we should not get discouraged, realizing that these battles will continue throughout our lifetimes, meaning your lifetimes, not just mine. Thank you.